So with that, I think I've stalled long enough for any questions. Let me do my do the our usual agenda item this semester. This is what I anticipated spending most of the time in these virtual class sessions this semester, which is a demonstration, and I do mean demonstration in the true sense, in the sense of this is something you might do yourself, as you are working through the homework questions, you are struggling, and videos can help you only so much. The videos demonstrate one way in which your instructor, knowing all the nooks and crannies of problem solving, one way of doing it correctly. As I do say, simply watching a video won't really teach you how to solve problems. You have to try it yourself. And as you're trying it, you might have gone into a particular path that's a dead end, and me knowing that that's a dead end might have avoided it in my video. So that's a kind of circumstance where having a tutor is helpful. And if you are in my office hour on Mondays, not this Monday, but usual Mondays, Mondays and Tuesdays, then I'll be happy to answer those as those questions come up. But if you are working on this, like Monday at 10 p.m., and you know that even if you ask me via email that I won't answer, then that's where a virtual tutor can be helpful, like ChatGPT. So let me do that demo. I'm going to turn into a test student and go to problem set 4. There might be some module requirements I need to unlock. I guess I must have unlocked it already. So let me work through this as test student. And as I do that, because this is not timed assessment, you don't really have any restrictions on not using outside tools. So you are actually allowed to have ChatGPT side by side as you are working on this. The only thing that you are not allowed to do, this is from the honor code, is anything that you submit should reflect your work. So if you're doing something that, that I think I've done this before, like if you do something like this, this is still prohibited by the course honor code. So because ChatGPT is an amoral tool, if you simply do this, it'll just work out the entire question for you. And it won't, its default isn't to teach you how to solve problems. I guess the human trainers who did the pre-conditioning, pre-training things, most people like having answers, the complete answer being given to them right away. So I'm sure those are the answers that got rated higher. That's really the bias of generative AI, to just simply and fully answer all the questions that's being given with some amount of time. Let's hope it doesn't stall, because right now I'm just trying to stall for time while ChatGPT is answering it. I might have to edit this out for YouTube. 46 seconds, yeah. So it'll just do this. So if you're doing this T3, it's an honor code violation, 1. And 2, it won't actually help you learn how to do these questions. Because in just simply copying and pasting these answers, you learned nothing. And you violated honor code. And not because you got help from ChatGPT. That's actually fine. Outside help is allowed when you're working on homework. You might have a tutor. But what you submit should be your work. It should not be your tutor's work. It should not be ChatGPT's work. It should not be my work. If you're copying and pasting from homework help video, that's also not allowed. So, even if you think you are using this in a kind of semi-academically honest way, where you really didn't know how to approach this question at all. So you did this, and as you got ChatGPT's answer, you maybe treated it like an answer key, and you are trying to learn from answer key. You are, reading through this and trying to understand that. And what I will tell you with my experience in learning physics and teaching physics, simply reading, it's not enough of an interaction for this material to stick in your brain. Like, you might think you understood it, and maybe, in the immediate aftermath of having read it, like 5, 10 minutes after, you might even remember it for a bit. But if you come back to it 12 hours later, a week later, you will find that you don't remember anything that you read. So, so if you are using ChatGPT as a tutor, which again I might recommend, then you have to start with this precautionary note, which is again because ChatGPT is an amoral tool. It has a really built-in bias for giving you full answers right away, which actually won't help you learn. So you have to direct ChatGPT to not do that. Tell it that you actually don't want what most other human beings prefer. You prefer not to be told the answers right away. You prefer that ChatGPT actually teach you. So let me give it this prompt that I usually do that I forgot to this time. Oops, sorry. I meant to say this first because I'm trying to prepare for a required one-on-one meeting with my instructor. I really need to learn how to do these questions myself. Please don't give me the full answer right away. In fact, don't even give me the immediate next step. Ask me what I have done so far, and if it looks like I'm stuck, help me with the next step. I really need to learn how to do these problems myself. So with that, let me find a more substantive question, and I guess I'll give it a kind of an attempt at first, and then get ChatGPT's help as I go. Question one wasn't all that difficult anyway, so it's okay having wasted this one. So let's find a question that's actually hard. Let's see. This is not actually a hard question, but I think I can kind of play act someone who's done okay through kinematics by looking up formulas, and then maybe get stuck on the rest of it. So let me think this through. So I'm putting myself in the mindset of someone who's used to looking up formulas. Part A, I think you can answer it that way. So there's a formula for that relates the maximum height of a projectile with its initial velocity, and that formula would be so V initial is equal to square root of 2 times the height G, wait, is that right? Yeah, I guess. Sorry, I'm trying to do the algebra in my head from the V squared, the formula. I don't actually have the formula memorized. The formulas I do have memorized are the V squared formulas, which is, V final squared is equal to V initial squared plus 2 times acceleration times delta x. Like that is what I actually have memorized. I think I did this right. No sign errors. I'm expecting a positive answer. So, okay. So with this, I can do the calculation. Let me do this on a calculator in the interest of time. So I have 2 times height, 108 times G, 9.8. Take the square root of that, 46. Oh, that's probably how the question got generated in the first place. They probably generate the 46 meters per second first, and then use that to get the other numbers that they give you for the problem. So 46, great. I got kinematics. I've been doing that great. So And then let's see, motor itself is a tube that long, calculate the average acceleration. This is still kinematic, so I feel like I can still do it. Um, yeah, so let me do, can I do that? So using the V squared formula, I can. I'm just trying to decide if, let's say I got stuck. So let's say I got stuck at this point. So I have written down acceleration is change of velocity over change of time, and I have no time. Um, so I'll say, I think I did part A correctly. In any case, the system says my answer is right, but I'm not sure. Oh, I guess the other thing I can do is because in the previous equation I was writing down, there was, acceleration was g, so I might have tried this and then, gotten a wrong answer that way. Um, sure about part B. I tried 9.8 meter per second squared, but it says that's not fine. And I wonder if it'll read my handwriting and give a comment that I need to find a method that doesn't rely on the time. You could actually find the amount of time first and then go from there. That's also a possibility. And the fact about constant acceleration, you don't actually need if you know the change in velocity. Yeah. Well-known kinematics formula relating these. That's great hint. So, that might prompt me to go back through my kinematics material and actually look up the formula where that this actually comes from, V final squared is equal to V initial squared plus 2 times acceleration times delta x. So let me make a slight bit of an algebra error. So algebra error in this sense, I'm gonna solve this for acceleration and say acceleration is equal to V final minus V initial divided by 2 times delta x. So hopefully you are spotting the algebra mistake I'm making, which is that, and I'll do the absolute value, which is that these are supposed to be squared. And if you're in the habit of doing dimensional analysis, this is the kind of algebra mistake that you will spot, on your own. But for my purposes here, let's say I pretend that I didn't see that. I forgot the squares and I do this and then complain to ChatGPT that I still got it wrong. So V final is 0. Let's say I knew that 0 minus V initial 46. I'm gonna do the absolute value, so it's gonna be just the 46 divided by 2 divided by 0.450. And I put this in, it looks reasonable. Why shouldn't it be right? And it still says it's wrong. And, this is the kind of a situation where I can imagine frustrations because it's these kind of minor mistakes that lead to final answer being wrong, and spotting those minor mistakes it takes experience and practice. And this is where if you're in the office hour, I could look at your work and kind of as I scan through and realize, oh yeah, you didn't copy over the square, that was the mistake. When you're working alone, this is where I do think ChatGPT's ability to kind of ingest, take in information from screenshots is really helpful because you can ask questions like this. So, okay, I found the V squared formula you are talking about, and I worked out A is equal to 51.1 meter per second squared, but it says it's wrong. Are you sure I can use this formula here? And it might spot my algebra mistake, maybe not. If I didn't give a screenshot, it probably won't know from the answer alone. There's still a chance that it could, forgetting the square could be like on a list of common mistakes to try. But I'm hoping with the screenshot, there's enough information for it to just straight out and say, oh, when you solve for acceleration, you forgot the squares, which is ironic because the name is V squared formula. Forgetting to, square the velocity. So, yeah. But it's gonna reset in 11 minutes, so I'll be fine. So if you do, So it might have just known that it's a common slip and not actually parsed my expression here. But once you see that much, and unless you are, trolling ChatGPT and deliberately getting answers wrong, unless you're doing that, you'll know to retry. Okay, 46 squared divided by 2 divided by 0.450, and the units are all, wow, that's a lot larger. 2351. 2351. All right, so let me fix that, and then let me ask ChatGPT the question that I myself hate getting, but ChatGPT is always polite, so it might not act as annoyed as I would be if I were asked this question. So I'll just I didn't write it here, but it's fine. Great. I got A is equal to 2351 meter per second squared, which seems correct. For the next part, what's the formula for average force? Because I think the kind of the mindset that seems to be common in students, looking for the right formula to plug in the numbers into. Some of the questions you can answer it that way. Your easiest questions you can answer it that way. The kind of the questions that takes a real physicist, a real engineer to solve won't be questions like that. It's always the kind of questions that require multiple steps. But ChatGPT will simply answer it this way. And for this question, because it's an easy question, so I guess I can probably do this in my head. So let me just look at this. Average, but so it's dividing by 10. And I think I raised the tolerance on this question so that I can actually divide by 10 and it'll say it's right. Dividing by 10 actually results in 2% error. So with a normal 1% tolerance, this shouldn't be considered right. But for questions involving G, many of them I've raised the tolerance to 3%. So that if you are using G equals 10, it'll still grade it as correct. It's not that I recommend that practice. When you're doing this homework, I do recommend that you divide by 9.8 so that you get actually correct number, 239.9, not 235.1. The fact that question will grade it as correct, it simply, it's not an excuse to be sloppy. I just wanted to reduce points of frustration where I can. So, all right, thank you. And I'll paste in this so that he knows I got it right. And should I be counting my responses like I count the bullets? So I still have like more than 20 responses remaining before that 11-minute time limit, so I think I'm gonna be fine. So let's find the question, and I should probably point out the limitation of ChatGPT. There are certain things that ChatGPT hasn't been able to do, and I probably should point this out. So I think this is a good example. So this is a kind of almost the standard standard strategy question to do. In the standard, in the sense that this kind of question illustrates all the things that you should do. Now, if you've been following my standard strategy lectures, which I strongly recommend that you do, because one of the first questions I'll ask you well, maybe not the first question. One of the questions I seem to be asking at every required one-on-one meeting is, what are the 4 steps of standard strategy? And if you can immediately tell me the 4 steps, step number 1, draw free body diagram. Step number 2, define coordinate axis, usually following the direction of acceleration. Step number 3, break forces into components. Step number 4, write down Newton's second law equation. Or as you see in different lectures, sometimes I write this as acceleration is equal to net force divided by m. If you can't tell me these 4 steps right away, that's my indication. Oh, you've never watched any of the lecture videos or my homework help videos, because you will see me lay out these 4 steps like 2 dozen times. So let's say you've been watching the lecture videos, you know that these are the 4 steps of standard strategy. So you want to get help from ChatGPT. Hey, can you help me draw a free body diagram? I have no experience drawing it. Can you draw it for me so that I can see what a correctly drawn free body diagram looks like? Let me try asking ChatGPT that question. I've been trying this for last year and a half. ChatGPT simply cannot draw a free body diagram. It's just one of the things it can't do. It's like, there was a period of time when ChatGPT couldn't answer any question involving David Meyer. It's almost like, I think this is actually a more general kind of limitation. I haven't seen generative AI produce any kind of a technical diagram that's correct. It can pass the prompt to a DALL-E and draw a kind of artistic drawing. And it can do ASCII art. And to the extent that it can do the free body diagram in the form of ASCII art, it'll maybe do that. But there are still diagrams involving angles, like oblique angles, that's hard to do without actually being able to draw a diagram like a human being can. So my instructor teaches what he calls standard strategy involving the 4 steps sketched out in the screenshot here. For the first step, I need to draw free body diagrams, and I'm not sure how to draw it. He's never given us any examples. I'm just gonna lie. Can you draw the free body diagram here for me so that I can learn from the example, kind of leaning on my earlier prompt before. And then it'll either tell me that it can't draw the diagrams but can describe it, or it'll attempt it with the ASCII art. We'll see what it does. Yeah, since we can't easily show a drawing here. That's an excuse. Sorry, I'm really having a hard time with the descriptions. I'm a visual learner, and I really need to see the drawing. Can you help? I've seen it do ASCII art drawings, so I don't think it'll just refuse to give me drawing forever. Yeah, it's done that, and as you look at it, you will see that that's bad. Like, it's like, what do any of this mean? So, cart. on the like so cart on the 37-degree incline, that's this cart, the 10 kilogram cart. Normal force does not go that way. It goes that way. It goes to the left and up, not to the right and up. It so I've pushed it as much as I can, and it'll even when you push it to give you ASCII art drawing, it'll just be wrong. And I think I've uh, used this description before, that ChatGPT is like a very smart tutor who is blind. Now a blind person who has someone else describe drawings for him, so he can understand the drawings, but in terms of being able to draw things, that's just the one limitation ChatGPT has. So, what I would recommend for you as a student working through this class in good faith, as a thinking human being, uh, do your best to read these descriptions and follow. And I do get that sometimes. This is the kind of practice that if you're not used to doing it is hard to do to start. But in the end, that's what my office hours are for, and that's what my numerous examples of actual free body diagrams, which I do actually give. I was lying to ChatGPT. That's what those examples are for. So let me try following ChatGPT's description of the forces that I should be drawing on the free body diagram. Sometimes it makes some mistakes in the description, but those have been few and far between. So let's give it a try. So, let's see. Did it tell me to draw a... Hmm. All right. I don't really. These are not the steps I recommend, but I've seen people do it, and I guess ultimately my objection to it isn't so strong. So let's say I'm gonna sketch the ramp at 37 degrees. That's fine. And place a cart on it. My main objection to that is really the starting place for your free body diagram. It should be a dot. As a reminder that that dot, that's your object. You're trying to draw a really simplified technical drawing. So, so all these are kind of distractions, but it's fine if somehow doing that helps you. Let me draw the dot here. Lack of that dot is annoying. Draw M1G vertically downward from the cart. Okay, I think I can do that. M1G. Draw N1 perpendicular to the ramp surface. And even though ChatGPT, when it was doing it, it did it wrong. It drew it in that direction. That's nothing like a perpendicular to the 37-degree slope. But you, as the thinking human being, can actually see that that surface you've drawn being oriented that way, the perpendicular direction is this direction, so you can draw normal force that way. And one, draw T parallel to the ramp up the incline. You can draw that there. That's T. Yeah, that's a free body diagram of 10 kilogram mass. Let's just label 10 kilograms so that I can distinguish it. And cart on the 53-degree incline. It's giving you the same descriptions. Yeah, sketch the ramp. Again, I don't. That's not what I would recommend, but you can draw correct diagram. Basically following that. Ramp first. I guess so. Maybe one thing I might still insist on is anything else that you're drawing that's not a force. Try to do it in different style. That's why I'm really switching the colors here. So what I'm drawing in black are the actual proper elements of free body diagram. The dot representing the object and the actual force vectors. Any other auxiliary figures that are not force vectors, you should distinguish them from things that are actual force vectors. So those are the free body diagrams. Let's see. If I'm acting a student who has trouble drawing free body diagram, I think I can still define coordinate axis fine. So, so, uh, so I would say, okay, so I know my direction of acceleration. acceleration, acceleration. So define my kind of x and y axis this way. This is my positive x, positive y, positive x, positive y. And then I'll seek ChatGPT's help with the step number 3, where I need to break forces down into components. So I have these drawings. Okay, I have these drawings and I've done step 2, defining coordinate axis along the direction of acceleration. The next step says break forces into components, and I have no idea what that means. What is a component? Like resistors, inductors, circuit components. um, Hopefully, you paid attention when we were doing chapter 2 and you know the vector components. Component of force is simply how much along chosen axis. Vector is a split or resolved into x part and a y part. Okay. Yeah, and also that's another thing ChatGPT is really great for, sort of like a just-in-time review. Let's say there are some materials from either prerequisite courses or earlier in the semester that you just skipped out on. Then a lot of times, this is really a failing of us of physics instructors. We tend to assume that everyone has perfect eidetic memory. You remember everything you've been told even once, and we tend not to repeat ourselves. And so, we might tell you break forces into components, expecting you to perfectly understand what a component is. And sometimes it appears to me that people feel embarrassed to ask what is a component. With the ChatGPT, hey, no one else sees your ChatGPT sessions unless you are recording it as part of a virtual class session. So you can ask, and it'll explain, and it won't insult you. It's usually very polite to you. So, align it's first typically in this into component parallel to the incline. Yeah. So one part parallel to. Later you will sum up. Okay. I think I get that. Tension and normal force are already along those directions, right? Just double checking. And it should just confirm that that's right. Wonder if it'll give me the next step. Straight down. So let me just play dumb and pretend that I didn't quite understand this. I don't understand this. You kind of gotta clean up math expressions. If it's vertical, then it's in the y direction, and I don't need to break it down either, right? Wonder how they'll try to re-explain that my y direction is not vertical. Case that we tilt our axis, goes along the line, y is perpendicular to the ramp, y is axis tilted. A force that is truly vertical is not aligned. Yeah, and again, unless you are trolling ChatGPT and deliberately trying to be difficult, you can see visually here that, especially if you've defined the axis, that this is not parallel to that y. You can visually see that. So let me stop being difficult and try to. Did it explain how to break mg into two pieces? It might not have explained that yet. So let me see if I can get that explanation out of it. Okay, I think I understand. I need to break M1G into component along the direction parallel to N1 and component along the direction parallel to T. Um, I'm not sure how to do that at the yeah, let's just leave it there. And again, if you want the examples, homework help video, lecture video, there's again like maybe not quite 2 dozen because there are some questions where you don't need to do this tilted axis stuff. There's like at least half a dozen videos where I do this exact thing. So watch that example if that helps. Figuring out tilted directions is a common stumbling block, and it's ChatGPT is very patient. Yeah, that's where it comes from. So yeah, you probably should follow its direction for sketching it and ignore the ASCII art drawing because it's likely to be highly incorrect. So just follow its instructions, not its drawing. ChatGPT is very bad at drawings. So let me draw it in green over here. So incline 37 degree above horizontal. Hopefully you can visualize and draw it. Put the cart of mass M1 on the ramp. Draw weight straight down. And I guess some people I can imagine doing this, where you draw it down to here. And then the common mistake to make is drawing a triangle that looks like this, maybe. Wonder if ChatGPT will tell me this is wrong. I don't know. Does this look right? Yeah. Just wait. No, I don't think the response actually pertains to that actual drawing because yeah, yeah. Okay. I think especially visual stuff is one where ChatGPT might not help you as much as it could in other more verbal stuff. So look for examples in the lectures and other videos. So the way I would probably draw this is make it nice and big. You don't want to struggle with the tiny drawings. And then I do need the axis reference so that I know what to draw. And I'm looking, as you're drawing it, make sure this is the hypotenuse. The vector you've drawn, the full vector should be the hypotenuse of the right triangle that you're going to draw. And the right triangle has the legs along the one of the axis and then the other axis. The order doesn't matter as long as it's a right triangle with the original vector being the hypotenuse. Then there's a geometry exercise you have to go through. Does ChatGPT tell you to do that? So I've done the axis. Identify the angle in the right triangle. Wave vector straight down, split it into component along the incline. This one, I guess let me label it W parallel, and this one W perpendicular. Yeah, right angle with this as the hypotenuse. That's the important part. If you check for that, I think that will avoid some of the common mistakes. Angle at the corner is the same as the so you could easily misunderstand the corner and label this. Let me see how ChatGPT reacts to that. So if I call this 37 degrees, which is not correct. Um, Yeah, so let me ask. Um, does this look better? By the way, you said, and I'll give it a bit of a hint. Um, you said this, and then I'll pretend, oh, so sine must be for the adjacent side. You said is equal to, and I wonder, is there another math expression down? Oh, no, there's no other math expression down there. M1 G sine 30, oops, sorry. Sine degrees. And just erasing some of the white spaces, is a sine for the adjacent side, like I have in the drawing for W parallel. You might be thinking I'm being difficult. It should maybe give me additional steps to correctly identify the 37-degree angle. Parallel 37-degree ramp angle reappears inside the little right triangle. You draw the wave vector in the right triangle. Oh, yeah, yeah. This is actually a good kind of visual exercise. So you imagine, so you can, yeah, let me, so I think that what it's labeling is hand check. It's something that you, again, as a thinking human being who can actually see and process the drawings, can think it through. So imagine having this drawing, and can I, don't think I have a tool to rotate it. Do I have? I don't think I have a rotation tool. But you can imagine kind of tilting it in your head and, or tilt your head. And when you make this 0 degrees, um, or how do I put it? So as you kind of not tilting the drawing, that's not quite right description. So you can imagine drawing a version of this drawing with a very tiny angle so that it's like closer to the 0 degrees that then when you draw mg this way and do the same thing, with the perpendicular direction like this and this, then that's where you can begin to see that this angle that I labeled, this is not clearly not 0 degrees. Actually, it's actually closer to 90 degrees. So it's really this tiny angle here, that 0 degrees, that's what's supposed to match this 0 degrees there. So my 37 degrees there is wrong, and it should be labeled this one. The geometry exercise, I find it hard to give a generally applicable advice to everyone, other than that practice makes perfect. What I like to do is, usually I like to just keep drawing auxiliary figures. So if you're trying to identify angles, then what I like to do is, just take this, draw it as big as possible so that, you got lots of room to draw additional drawings and do stuff with. So, I have this nice big drawing, and if I have this 37-degree angle here, then some of the things you can do is identify like right triangle. So I know this is right angle, so this angle must be, 90 degrees minus 37, which means, oh, how do I, that might have led me into a dead end. Oh, which means I can now look at this right triangle, I think. This right triangle, this is a right angle here. So this angle here must be this is interior angle of a right triangle, the other angle. So this is 90 degrees minus 90 degrees minus 37 degrees. So these cancel out, and you get 37 degrees, and you argue, oh, this is the 37 degrees. Geometry exercise, it tends to, I think, when you're done, you get messy drawing like this. So practice makes perfect. And once you get enough practice, I think then you should be able to more quickly identify which angle is the 37 degree angle here. So, all right, we probably should wrap up this question. It's taking a long time, which I think is fine. This is, again, kind of the standard example of application of standard strategy. So let's bring this home. I think I got it. Let me write down the Newton's second law equations, step 4. And let me actually write it up here so that I can. Huh? I don't know. There's a thing here that I guess. All right, it's not gone. All right, so let's write down my Newton's second law equations. I should have 4 equations. So you need one equation per each object, and you need one equation per each direction. I got two objects, 2 dimensions each, so 4 equations. So so I'm gonna imagine having done all the steps, done the breakdown, and referring to the equations that ChatGPT has given me. Then what I would do is net force for object 1 in the x direction is equal to, so maybe I should actually draw enough of this so that I can refer to. It especially helps me not make sine errors. So this m1g sine theta, I know it's opposite to the direction of acceleration. So I really should write it down as minus m1g sine theta 1. That's 37 degrees, plus tension, that's in the positive x direction, is equal to m1a. Net force for still object 1, but in the y direction is equal to, let's say upward is positive, n1 minus m1g cosine theta 1. And you could actually ignore this equation. It doesn't do anything useful. You could just deal with the x component of equations. That's fine if you want to do that as a shortcut. Net force for object 2 in the x direction. It will have the same form, but be careful because this m2g is in the same direction of acceleration. I'm gonna say plus m2g sine theta 2, this time minus t, is equal to m2a. Net force for 2 in the y direction is equal to n2 minus m2g sine, not sine, cosine. But this mistake won't have meant anything because, again, this equation doesn't do anything like that equation there. So let me get ChatGPT's intermediate feedback. This time it should just tell me that it's correct, unless I made an inadvertent mistake. All right, I have these 4 equations today. All right. And after I pay this in, do want to get some space back. Let me put this into a clipboard by cutting it. Can I not cut it? It's not letting me cut it. All right, I'll just erase. Copy and then erase. Hopefully I can paste it back in if I need to. Those look exactly right. Great. Yeah, for the usual setup. Yeah, Upton's law. Yeah. So in the interest of time, let's use a computer algebra system. So the algebra for this looks so hard. The he told us we could use Sage Math. Can you help? And it'll give me a code that I'll more or less like copy and use. Again, there is a fine line between using your tutor's work, like submitting your tutor's as your work as your own work versus it being actually your work. You should really spend the time understanding all these steps. In the end, the true test for is it your own work is if you have to reproduce this on your own without your tutor's help. Maybe in that required one-on-one meeting, can you do that? If you can do it, then great. Then by definition, what you are submitting is your own work. If you can't do that, then yeah, what you're submitting wasn't your own work. You really should have spent more time understanding that and making it your own. So let me, in the interest of time, let me just copy and paste a lot of this. I'll just type it out. Variable M1, M2G, theta 1. I'll just follow ChatGPT style. This is not how I usually code it, but it's fine. I'm getting its help, so might as well just copy its style. M2 times G times sine theta 2 minus t is equal to m2 times a. Solution equals. Oh, I wonder what it'll. So let's just make one tiny mistake. I know we are going over time, but just one tiny mistake. That's easy for someone who's new to programming to make. Missing a letter, thinking, oh, that those are equal signs. Why should I repeat it twice? So I can do. Let me erase the rest of my drawings. And I'll click evaluate and I'm gonna get an error and then it'll say this and I'll complain the code doesn't work. And it should be able to tell you that that why it doesn't work because this is a pretty common mistake. The code doesn't work. And I'll say I'm so emotional because I'm running out of time. Oops, I ran out of time. If 12 right now is 12 midnight. ChatGPT won't escalate in response to your shouting. It's very polite, very, well, very polite. It'll tell you that you missed those two actual equal signs. That cannot assign to expression means reading that as an attempt to assign two different things. You can write an equation with the two signs like that. Instead, you must either set up. Okay. Yeah, this is the important part. Use the double equals to indicate equality. I mean, even here, you still have to use double equals. Like, it doesn't mean anything. So, okay, double equals. Oh, and then I think it's it's telling me the next steps. Yeah, either version tells Sage Math once you fix the syntax should give you symbolic solutions. Yeah, it should give me symbolic solutions here. And since it gave me the next step, let's do that. This is substitution. So so I'll say, oh, that worked. I'm not familiar with the subs. How do you use that? Because, this dot 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 part, maybe you don't get it. You don't get that this curly bracket thing is the dictionary syntax. Because you don't know Python. And ChatGPT will tell you how to use the dictionary substitution syntax in its own style. Which isn't my preference, but I think you will develop your own preference if you are using it. So yeah, sol is the symbolic expression and also convert you can do. That is interesting. Yeah, let's try that. So I'm doing Sol is equal to solution 0, A expression is equal to sol A val. I mean, I do like this organizing scheme. It's probably following some kind of best practices and whatnot. M1 10, M2 15. And again, as I've said, the syntax I prefer is the keyword syntax that has equal sign in it. You'll see me use it in my other videos. Um, but this is perfectly serviceable way to do this. And then a val is still a symbolic expression with the numbers in it. Is that right? Let me try to print a val. It might still have like exact values in it. Oh wait, that doesn't look right. So a um yeah. That so that should have been like a sol 0, I think. Um. Oh, I know what the issue is. So we should have gone deeper. I think if we do this, then it'll be correct. Let's see if ChatGPT can help us through this. Or let me, I'm just gonna try one thing. No, it's interesting. This is not the way I usually do things, so um, yeah. So let's do it this way. Let's just give it the error. I'm not sure if there's a good solution for this. So I think what this is supposed to be is if a soul is a dictionary, then this would get that out of a dictionary. But I don't know if so I'll just give it an error. Um, yeah. Um, so wrong. I am over time, so at some point I'll just have to wrap up. I mean, so you technically don't have to do any of this. You could get the symbolic expression and then plug in numbers manually. Like that's possible. Um, and if you really want to substitute in numbers, so let's give it a try. So I don't think the so a syntax works. Is there another way? Sometimes when you pinpoint the issue, it can give you a workaround for it. Yeah, instead of. So actually, that must be what this dict to true is. Um, but yeah, I don't know why this doesn't behave the way ChatGPT is. This is going down the path that I usually don't explore, but doing it this way, yeah, no dict to true. I mean, I did have dict to true, so it can do that. Uh, Maybe dict to true is some outdated syntax. Um, So yeah, yeah. So in the interest of time, I'll just do the quick solution. So here, I think this will work. So, and if you want numerical value, you can plug in. You will do right hand side of this and get numerical version. So you can do that. So I'll say, let me do this. So I'm gonna, can I make this bigger? I can't make it bigger. Um, so I'll say, all right, I got a, and I think I can get it to paste this in and then this in. As a kind of wrap up. So, so yeah, this is the demonstration of using ChatGPT as a kind of virtual tutor. Again, I think its biggest value is when you are like stuck at some step, so you suspect you are making mistakes somewhere, and you want someone to look over your work to spot the mistake. I mean, you can ask me during my office hour. You can also, if you send me like a photos of your work, I can scan through to see where the mistake might be. Now, if you are asking me and it's not my office hour, usually there will be some sort of delay. Like if it's during regular work day and not, couple hours before the due date, I will probably answer within a few hours, basically as soon as I can get to in front of a computer. But that's still a delay. And in many of those questions, ChatGPT can give you an immediate response, which will most times be correct. Sometimes you get into weeds enough, it'll kind of not give you something that works. But as you kind of think through, try different things, I think there's enough here that you can figure things out on your own, even where ChatGPT is stuck. So. All right, so that's everything. Thank you so much for joining. Those who are both joining by recorded the video and who are here in real time, let me say goodbye to people joining by recorded the video, by which I mean I'm going to stop the recording and I will stay online briefly after stopping the recording in case people who are here in real time had questions that they wanted to ask about not on recording. So bye to people joining by recorded the video.